Hey everyone, welcome back to the Comic-Con Podcast, Season 2, Episode 6. I am one of your hosts for the evening, Justin, aka Nemesis Prime. And if you're hearing us on all the podcast platforms, Spotify, Google Podcasts, iTunes, and Anchor FM, and sometimes on YouTube, but with my man Manimal, what's going on, buddy?
What's up, everybody? Back once again every week. You know how we do, and we got a good show this week. It's a little bit different than our normal shows where it's just Justin and I. We got a special guest, and it's gonna be a lot of fun and a lot of things to talk about. So it's gonna be a good one.
Yeah, definitely. So, of course, we've been teasing this over the past couple of weeks that we're going to be having a guest on here. And I said it last week that if you have been following me on Instagram and you know my logo, you know the artist. And if you're thinking, and I would say probably quintessential Transformers artist of our time, Livio Ramondelli. What's going on, buddy?
What's up? Nice to see you guys. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So, Livio is a longtime artist, IDW, as well as some other stuff. So, we had to have him come on the show. He's got an upcoming comic coming out, a sequel comic. So we're going to talk about the previous comic. We're going to talk a little bit about learn some stuff from Livio and, of course, what we do always, what are we currently reading, and even some articles. So, Livio, tell the people out there listening, where can they find you on social media, and, what's some of the projects you've worked on in the past?
Yeah, so I'm mostly known for Transformers for IDW. I've done that for like over 10 years now. Before that, I worked for Jim Lee at Wildstorm. I was a concept artist there. I worked on the DC Universe MMO game. And then Transformers led to me creating the series called the Kill Lock, which is an original science fiction thing that I created, wrote, and illustrated for IDW. And a sequel to that book called The Artisan Wraith comes out in March. So, and I'm on Instagram, I'm on Twitter, just my full name there. And you can find a bunch of art there and communicate with me there.
Awesome. So let's kind of get into a little bit of the Kill Lock. So don't give the ending away, and don't give too much, because I want our listeners to get out there and actually pick up the original series, whether they could pick up the 6 issues or either in trade format. What was the Kill Lock about, and like how did you approach? Because it's out on IDW. So if anybody's listening, it's out on IDW Publishing's. How did you approach IDW, to get this idea of Kill Lock? And what is it all about?
It was unusual because normally when you pitch something, you get a rough idea together and you maybe get like 5 pages and then you pitch it to a company. The Kill Lock was something that I worked on for about 4 years around other comics, and I finished the entire series. So it was totally drawn, lettered, and everything before I even pitched to IDW, that's really unheard of. That you're like, here's 120 pages or whatever that are ready to go. But you still don't know if they're going to greenlight it. They have a creator-owned committee that looks at all the projects. And even if you work for them on Transformers, it doesn't necessarily mean you get a creator-owned book. Like I had friends who got books turned down. So I had no idea what they would think of it, but thankfully, like, they responded favorably. And that was a real nice feeling, because I worked on it in like a vacuum for so long. I was like, man, is anyone going to like this? Like, they're going to find it funny, like the way I do, I hope. But yeah, thankfully, like when it came out, it was one of the best experiences ever for me. I loved it.
How long did it take you doing kind of double duty there as like the writer and the artist? That's got to just take up all your time, you would expect.
Yeah, it's tough. And also the fact is that because you're making a creator-owned book that isn't officially greenlit, you're not getting paid. So you basically have to, do your day job, pay the bills, and then in the time around that, do this. And that takes a while. Like 6 issues of a series takes a while, even if you're getting paid for it every day, So thankfully, one benefit of COVID was I had all this kind of free time during quarantine that I was able to finish the sequel much quicker, because I just had so much time, and I wasn't seeing friends. And that was kind of a nice silver lining to everything.
So I'm glad you kind of brought up COVID, because when I was reading it, I noticed, and I want to ask you like your experience of this, because you kind of fell in the dark days. It came out like the first 4 issues, and then you had a 2 or 3 month gap when like Diamond shut down, and then issues like 5 and 6 came out in July and August or something like that. So how was that? Was it kind of like, did it affect the steam of it? Was it just a bummer? I mean, how was that?
It's weird. I don't know, because one, I'd never done a creator-owned book before, so I couldn't gauge based on the prior experience. And also COVID just disrupted everything. So it was like, it was really hard to kind of figure out, even now I know, for example, like there's copies of the trade paperback that are stuck on boats still trying to get to certain countries. Wow. So I don't know if I'll ever know the full outcome of how things could have been different. We'll see with the sequel now, but comics are in a weird spot because just the supply chain crisis is no joke. Like, I have a lot of friends that work at DC Comics. There's literally not enough paper to print right now. They can't find paper. So it's like, that's a gigantic, if you're publishing books, I mean, that is a huge, so like even the disruptions of COVID early are not over, you know?
Yeah, we've talked about that in the past with the paper shortages and how it affected all of them, like Marvel's releases. Like you had books that were supposed to come out, let's just say even like this week, and people are anticipating it that they pre-ordered the book, and then all of a sudden it doesn't come out this week, and then it comes out like a week or two later,
Right.
and it completely screws everything up. So like with your book, like Zach said, we had it early. I think the first issue dropped in December of like 2019. And it was great. Like I enjoyed it so much. And then you read those first couple issues, and then all of a sudden it's just like it stops and you're like, well, what happened? Like, and you kind of, and people may lose track of it, but it definitely got a warm feeling at the end of it. I know a lot of people, you've posted it. I've seen tons of people always reposting in the book. And, so let's kind of really get into the Kill Lock. Like, what is it all about for the people that are listening?
Yeah. So the basic premise is 4 robots from like very different walks of life, very different classes are linked together by this punishment. Where if one of them dies, they all die. So it's this, I hope for like a very human story of like, you have an addict that's forced to take care of kind of a murderer and a very like noble soldier and an innocent kid. It's like people that would never be in the same room together normally are really kind of having to protect each other to survive. And I wanted to play with this very morally gray world that is kind of, aside from the kid, all the other 3 are really kind of have layers of, you can question their actions a bit, I love living in that kind of like gray area where characters that are really like unlikable also become likable, So yeah, that was the basic premise.
Yeah. I thought with like the character, obviously the artisan he's almost kind of steals the show in a way a little bit. I mean, he's funny, he's smart, he's sadistic, he's crazy, but there were moments too though where you felt like, okay, like does he have a good side to him? Like there was times with the kid, even though obviously he had his ulterior motives, it seemed like there was some consideration to the kid's well-being as well, which I thought was interesting.
That was very intentionally done. I wanted to be like, it's sort of like 3 parents and a kid, and then through the course of the story they each take turns with him, and the Wraith is really protective but also shows the kid a lot of violence, and then the laborer is protective, but then if he's drinking he gets his own darkness, it's different than the artisan's darkness. So I wanted that notion of like, man, like a kid in this world. And that's another reason why they're robots, by the way, not people, because I was like, this story would be so uncomfortable if it was human characters, like, treating a human kid that way. I mean,
right.
I think sci-fi has always had that great balance of like taking current, metaphors and just move them into outer space, and they become a lot more enjoyable and a little separate,
digestible for humans.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah.
So speaking of the Wraith, so what's really interesting about him, and I don't know if you've ever, spoken about this, and I like him a lot, is the way he speaks, the way his font is different than the rest of the robots. Like what's that all about? Like it's almost like Arthurian like type of character, right?
Yeah. He's meant to, absolutely. Like he's meant to be like an old kind of crusader. And I wanted his font to be like kind of biblical a little bit. So he's sort of this relic kind of that's in the modern world. It's really not meant to really be on these planets peacefully. He's meant to be a warrior. He's not meant to be like walking around in a cloak and that kind of stuff. So I wanted his font and the way he speaks. He kind of speaks in a very weird old way. I wanted that to kind of contrast him from like the artisan, who's a very like modern, almost break the fourth wall kind of character who like uses profanity and all this stuff that's very different than the Wraith. So yeah, it was like, I like that notion of bringing 2 very contradictory characters, because the Wraith is like stone cold science fiction. There's like no making fun of that character, but then the artisan sort of makes fun of everything around him. So that's hopefully a contrast that I wanted to play with.
Yeah, even his word balloons as well. They're different shape. They have like the kind of more archaic design to them as well, which was
absolutely. Yeah.
So since you currently have done Kill Lock, which is the first series is 6 issues, the new one, which is called The Artisan's Wraith, right?
Correct? The Artisan Wraith, yeah.
Yeah. Do you like it being a limited series where it has a beginning and an end, or would you like to see it like an ongoing? Like, would you do this as just like an ongoing series?
It's a good question. I like the format of what it is now, where you're sort of, you get, because I'm a big fan of like trilogies. I like that you get these blocks of giant, really moves the story forward each time there's a new one.
Mhm.
I definitely could see this as an ongoing. I mean, just the notion of them having adventures for like 85 issues of going planet to planet. But I think in the end, like you'll see like the stuff that happens in the sequel. The sequel is like such a big leap forward in their story, and also the kind of explains like the origins of their society a little bit, that it felt like a much larger kind of chunk of a story. But I thought about doing an anthology, like 48 pager, that focuses on completely other characters that have the kill lock. So there would be these like Twilight Zone stories where someone would be like,
That'd be
five
cool.
pages. Yeah, that'd be kind of neat. Like one would be like characters die immediately, like they get kill locked and they just like instantly die, and then you'd have like the paranoia and what the different circumstances of that punishment, because that punishment lends itself to kind of a recurring Twilight Zone-y kind of setting.
I remember when I was reading it, I very much was, engrossed in the characters and the different like classes, like you said. But I'm always that kind of person who's like, oh, damn, now I want to know what's up with the founders. Who are these guys? And then, oh, okay, the explorers. Who are the explorers? Why are these dudes like so much bigger and sent out? Like, and then what else? Who else? What other classes do I not know about? And like that's what I'm always thinking. So do we get more? Like you said, you focus on the origin. Do we get more in the sequel?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that was something I was really excited about going into, which is just really expand the world out. So there's a lot more with like the Wraith Legion and who runs that army. You meet the characters that actually command that army. And that was something that really made me happy about the first series. Was I tried to keep the story kind of simple, but the amount of people that told me they liked the world building and wanted to see more of that made me happy, because I really wanted to go into that more. I didn't want to get bogged down in terms of explaining how their world works too much the first time around, because I didn't know if that would be just too much exposition. But now in the second one, I think you get a lot more of that. So
yeah, there's always that thin line. You know what I mean? Like, do you tell the story a lot, or do you world build, excuse me, or do you, like focus on the story? It's kind of like just that thin line. I think you nailed it. Like, it made me want more, but the story was so concise. And like Justin and I talk all the time about how we're kind of fans of these controlled stories, which is funny because both of us are ongoing series readers. Like Justin has read like 1,000 issues of Batman ongoing, which will never ever end. And I'm an X-Men guy, which will never ever end. Like two ongoing stories, but those like concise, like 12 issues, 6 issues, whatever, where you have the focus in the story, it's so much easier to digest those at times, and
I agree. Like my favorite comics of all time tend to be like Dark Knight Returns, something that's like a one, even with sequels that are out there, that's a one story. Like I love my X-Men. I love like the McFarlane Spider-Man run, but I do tend to prefer the books that are like, even something like Preacher, which is, it's like ongoing, but it really is one story,
like 50 issues and you're good.
Yeah. And I love that kind of thing. Yeah. I mean, I think it's also like, unless you're like Eric Larson or something, the idea of doing one comic yourself for like 35 years is like, that is a hell of an undertaking. Like,
yeah. McFarlane and Spawn, like,
yeah. I mean, and then even Eric would kind of say about the fan base, where over time the thing is out there just so long that fan base goes up and down. I mean, that's my hat's off to that guy. I mean, that's a level of dedication that's really phenomenal.
Yes. So here's a question for you regarding like the Kill Lock. So of course, and what's perfect about this is the Kill Lock's coming out March 9th, issue 1. Final order cutoff is actually this Monday, February 14th. So of course, this episode is dropping on February 11th. So make sure you get out there. If you're listening to this and you want to check out this series, go to your local comic shop, tell your comic shop to put this on, because it's final order cutoff this Monday. Nice. But, have you heard any, early buzz about this? Because I know the first one had a total, like, I remember seeing a lot of early buzz on this, and even like reviews were like, people were giving it perfect reviews. Have you heard anything so far on this?
Honestly, I as far as I know, IDW hasn't circulated advanced copies to anybody, so there's no reviews out there yet. Like we're literally still putting it together. I mean, the series is done on my end, but we're sort of compiling all the pinups and stuff in the back. So I just saw the final version of issue 1 like a week ago. So it's still pretty close. But I mean, hopefully people will like it. The first one thankfully got like a very nice response. Like I was really thankful for that, because I had no idea if anyone would like it. And now I'm worried on the second one because there's new characters that sort of introduce the story. So, and then you'll get into like the ones you knew from the first series. But like, yeah, so I mean, it's kind of one of those things where it's like now that you have a sequel, like you have to make sure people like that. And I've never been in that position either. So
yeah, sequels are tough because it's all or nothing. Sometimes it feels like with sequels, like either people love it or they're just pan it, and the original is always like the best. It's tough. It's especially there's comic book fans are some of the most hardest to please at times.
Yeah. And I mean, these days too, with, you treat a character wrong or you write a character in a way that people think is like a bad trope. And like, my God, like
you get death threats.
Yeah. So we'll see. I mean, yeah. I mean, I hope people like it is all I can say, but.
So now speaking of the sequel, I think on the front cover, are those the two new characters?
Those are two new characters. Yeah.
Can you talk about them, or like, is it still like kind of hidden that you don't want to give too much away? And I guess maybe a little bit of what the sequel is.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to do it. So the sequel starts with basically there's a new class of robot introduced called the Resolve class, which those two characters on the cover are members of that class, where they're basically this kind of elite group that's sent in to clean up really horrific situations that have happened. So they're tasked with killing the Artisan Wraith by the Forgers. So the first issue is getting to learn about those two new characters. And you'll see, like, you get a bit of their history of how long they've worked together. And what I'm hoping in the first issue is that you see that they're very lethal, but also the amount of care they have for one another. That ideally I want the audience to worry about them because you know what they're going up against if you've read the first series. So that's kind of the start of it.
Like a buddy cop thing, right?
Buddy cop, yeah. And then there's kind of like there's kind of like the mentor that's a little bit beyond his prime. So the younger apprentice is like frustrated by him. There's that kind of dynamic.
Interesting.
But, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Zach, you got a question?
Oh yeah, no, I was just looking at the picture. They look like awesome characters.
Thanks.
Man, but it's hard to. I have a ton of questions I want to ask, but I don't want to like give anything away for the first 6 issues.
I'll do it, man. I like talking about. It's fun to talk about the sequel now because talk about the first one for like a year.
So before I spoil things, 'cause I easily have no problem spoil things. Justin usually has to stop me because I just like to talk about it so much. But where did you get what was the inspiration for this? Like what? I mean, obviously, and not to say obviously, but you said like you did the Transformer stuff for so long. So a move to, creator owned and still kind of staying in like the robot game, so to speak, it makes sense. But like the story, where'd you get the inspiration for it?
I'm a huge science fiction fan my whole life. So I always knew I would try and make a science fiction thing at some point. And I felt like on Transformers, I had been on it long enough and kind of learned about writing. And I like ghost wrote some Transformers stuff too that IDW put out. But yeah, I think I just really wanted to do kind of like an R-rated Pixar movie about robots in space. Like that's kind of like
that definitely is a great description of
Thanks. Thanks. So yeah, I was like, yeah, just kind of like I liked that notion again with sci-fi of like you can take real world metaphors and characters and you can take a serial killer and make it a robot serial killer and suddenly that becomes a much more entertaining kind of thing, or much less creepy thing. And
it's acceptable to love him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There's something about robots exploding and dying that even if it's horrific, there's a little bit of like
they just build themselves back together like Transformers do all the time.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I feel like you can laugh at the horrors of what happens to a robot a little bit different than a person. So yeah. So that was really
Do you see yourself with now? And I'm guessing like you kind of said you like trilogies, and I'm expecting this will probably be a trilogy. Do you see yourself maybe doing like one shots, kind of like spin-off in a way where it's more world building of certain characters, like
or the classes maybe,
or the classes?
I thought about that. Like I kind of mentioned like the Wraith Legion shows up in full force in this one, and you get to meet the new characters that there's this trio. There's a triumvirate of characters that runs the Legion, and their names are Legion Envoy, Legion Viscount, and then Legion Zenith, who's like the top Wraith in the entire army. And so you get to see more of them and like what their exploits, what they've been doing out in the galaxy. And so I really thought about it'd be cool to explore their origins too, because you get more of the history of everything in the sequel. You get the kind of like, why does the Wraith even agree to be sentenced by the Kill Lock? If he's this other old class, why would he even use modern methods? And you kind of get an answer to that in the new one. Yeah, I would love to do more like spin-offs and that anthology idea of like the Twilight Zone. That I've really been leaning toward doing that because I like the notion of you have no idea what's going to happen to these characters. Each new short story could be really fun or really dark, and yeah, I think that could be cool.
Even like a prequel would be nice too. Have you thought about that? Like kind of like where they were prior to when they got sentenced to the Kill Lock?
I thought about it. I mean, I'd have to have an idea of like what's interesting, like to show, you know, because they each get a flashback in the first series. It kind of shows, especially like the kid. I mean, there was no prequel to the kid. He basically has 3 mememories, and then he's in the story. Like, you know, the Wraith would be the interesting one, I think, because, and even in the sequel, he's like much older, so you get ideas of what he was doing like way before he met like the modern class of robot.
So who's your favorite character? Who do you like the most? Who do you enjoy writing them? I mean, I feel like I know, but who is your favorite character though?
I think it's a tie between the Artisan and the Wraith.
Okay.
Because they're really fun, and they're sort of, they kind of represent the 2 different sides that I like about writing, where I like when you have a character like the Wraith who's completely serious, and he's there's no making fun of the mythology. Then you have the Artisan who's like absolutely no filter, like literally anything you want to have him say, you can have him say, which is really fun. And I'm glad people like that character, because I thought I would like offend people. I didn't like, literally the first line of the Kill Lock. If you don't get offended by that line, then that's good. But
so you've done variant covers throughout everything. You've done IDW, you've done Something's Killing the Children last year, like Department of Truth.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you're doing for the Kill Lock or any other series right now that's in the works?
Not so. I mean, I'm really just kind of focused on the sequel right now. And then there's some other creator-owned ideas I want to do. Like, I really want to kind of pursue more of that. Like, you know, stories with robots, but also with people. I want to try and actually see how that would go, and if I could make something like that. So yeah, I'm developing like 3 other kind of sci-fi and then not sci-fi ideas right now. But that's sort of my focus, is just do more creator-owned stuff.
So, do you like, I mean, primarily you've done, you know, the artist stuff. Like, are you enjoying the writing, the actual writing? I mean, what are you preferring? If you had to, I guess, okay, I just asked like 5 questions in a row there. So let me consolidate. If IDW or whoever said choose one or the other, which way would you go, writer or artist?
Oh man, I think probably still an artist, you know, at my core, because if you told me like draw a really cool RoboCop picture, I'd be like, oh man, I would get right on it. If you told me to write a good RoboCop story, I'd be like, that would be harder, you know. Like I would really need. That's one thing I'm trying to get better at, is becoming a faster writer at identifying a good idea, because I want to do more writing, and I was like, I don't want it to take 4 years on each project, because I'll be dead. So I mean, I have thought about like just trying to write a novel or something where there is no art, and just see how that would turn out. But yeah, I mean, probably artist though. Yeah.
Okay.
So during the pandemic, you know, with, you know, being put on lockdown and the conventions completely gone, you know, during that time, was there anything that you improved on or learned upon being an artist or writer?
I mean, probably. I mean, we'll see what people think of the sequel. I hope the sequel lives up to the first one in people's minds. I mean, I spent most of the pandemic working on it. So like I wrote, you know, at the real dark quarantine days where there was like no leaving the house in Los Angeles, because Los Angeles locked down really early. So man, I mean, I had like a balcony in my last place, and I was on the balcony writing until like 5 a.m. because I was like, there's no real reason to go to bed, because I'm going to be in the same apartment. Like, it's not like I'm seeing friends tomorrow.
So Groundhog Day, right?
It really was. And I mean, it was insane. I mean, the only thing I liked was that it was so much time to work on projects. I mean, how did you guys handle it? Like the real start, like, were you guys both locked down pretty hard at the beginning?
So for me, I'm in Jersey. I actually was going to work. I worked in an office building, and pretty much the entire first and second floor of my company was gone. I literally was one of 10 people that normally is like 300 people in the building. Wow. So I actually was going to the office. My wife, she's a teacher, so she was working from home. So I didn't mind going to the office, because I got to work and, you know, kind of just listen to the music without a headset on, and there's nobody around me. So
yeah,
it's definitely different.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm down in El Paso, Texas, and like work wise, nothing didn't really change too much. I was I guess my job falls in that. Oh God, what was the term when you like you had to work?
Essential worker.
Essential workers.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
So my profession is like an essential worker thing. So like work wise, nothing changed. But I guess the interesting thing was I had just recently started dating my wife now, but at the time, probably for like 5 or 6 months. And then she moved in with me like right around COVID. I mean, she was like hanging out, and then just kind of stayed and was like, oh, let's quarantine together. And
Man,
it fast forwarded that relationship to a marriage like
I was gonna say, yeah, that'll
a
test
year
their
later.
relationship.
So
Yeah.
we did about 4 years of dating in like 4 months, maybe.
Man, yeah.
But all positive results there. So I don't want to, if she listens to this episode, I don't want to get in trouble.
No, that's great. Congrats. I'm glad it worked out. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, Texas was, we've always been kind of one of the looser restriction states. So, there was times obviously here in El Paso where probably what you would consider a more bluer city than the rest of Texas. And the restrictions were a little stiff, but I mean, probably nothing like you guys in Jersey and Cali.
It was so crazy because it was like they locked us down twice really big. So, which was nuts because like world reopened. And it only reopened to like patio dining, never really reopened indoors. And then they locked it down again. I was actually at dinner with friends and we got a text that this patio dining is closing down in like a day. And I was like, man, this poor like serving staff, like we just got a notice and they're working right now. They probably don't even know that their job is. And I mean, it's just, it was really hard.
So how does that affect you being an artist? I know for artists and writers who are coordinating, sometimes it's easier just to get in contact with people, but for like you're like being at home, like, and I can't think of anything off the top of my head, and I apologize, but I know you've done a lot more covers over the past 2 years than interiors. If correct me if I'm wrong. Like, did you do any interiors that can't think of since
What
COVID
I did? I worked on a project with there's a company called War Chief that's like basically one of the top guys at Blizzard created a new company. So we were working on a project that took a big chunk of quarantine time too, that it's not released publicly yet, but that was interiors I did for something. But yeah, I mean, the craziest thing for me was just losing all the Comic-Cons, because for a lot of us, that's like a big source of income. So that was a little scary because I didn't know what was going to happen. But thankfully, I mean, I know, like, I'm sure you guys are well aware, you're collectors, but the collecting market just shot through the roof during quarantine. And that was true for commissions too. Like, I couldn't believe that at a time, I thought everyone was going to be like really watching their money.
Yeah.
Commissions,
no way.
Yeah. Like it was, and they continue to be that way. Like,
yeah,
so that was a real lifesaver that happened.
I think it was, it was such a change from like, I mean, if you think about it, like the pandemic and quarantine is just kind of, maybe came out of nowhere isn't the right thing, but it just happened and it was like, boom, game on, and so there was such a, I wonder if collecting and everything, obviously we've seen these past, like since COVID, nostalgia has just ridden through the roof, and it's like, you wonder, is it on the back of also COVID and everyone's remembering the good times? And so it's nostalgia and all that. But Justin and I, we both sell on eBay a lot. Like I made a killing selling, and I'm not disparaging these titles, but like new 52 DC runs, like complete runs that I would never have been able to sell. I feel like in the past, like they were flying off my eBay page. Like people were just like, hey, cool. 45 issues of Superman, sweet. I'm not doing anything else. I will buy those and read them all. So, it worked out pretty well.
Yeah, I think it was that. I think it was the nostalgia, missing the prior world. And I think people had the time to be like, hey, what happened to that thing I liked when I was a kid? Like maybe I can track that down now. And then, and I think just reading, man, everyone had so much free time that it's like time to read and watch Tiger King and all the stuff that hit. It was perfect.
Yeah, it's definitely been a lot more reading in 2020, and you, like you said, and that's the one thing that I'm more Zack. Zack and I are different in the world of comics. He's more of, he likes the writing side and I like the artist side. So like when I see artists, and especially you, I've been following you for many, many years, and you're pumping out all these like new photos of like commissions. Like I'm like, man, where is he going? There's no conventions, but that's what it is. Like, these artists still need to make money, and over the past 6 to 8 months, there's, I don't know if you know that app, Whatnot. Is that
Yeah.
whatnot
Oh,
app.
that. Oh my God. I did.
So I don't know if you're on there yet, but you know, there's some big name artists on there that have been selling, and I guess that's kind of like the new thing, because like you don't really have to go to a convention. You can just sell your prints, commissions, you know, signed books, your cover books, whatever it is. You know, I don't know if you've thought about jumping on there.
Absolutely, I have. Yeah, I did. I did one WhatsApp event. I was at a comic store, and the owner was like, "You want to jump on with me?" And I couldn't believe how like ravenous the thing was for like a half hour. And so, even during quarantine, I had made these like sketchbooks to bring to conventions. I had these all printed up, and then we got locked down. So I threw up on Instagram like, "Hey, if anyone wants these, you know, here's the price." And they sold out in like one day. And I didn't even advertise. I just threw it up on like a post. So yeah, I'm definitely doing more of that. I'm actually making a book now that's going to be, it's going to be a pencil to color book. So each page will be one page of pencil Transformers art, and the next page will be the colored version. So it'll be sequentials and covers, and those books should be arriving any day now, and then I'll throw them up online.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So regarding conventions, since it's this year, yeah, what do you have scheduled? Do you have anything scheduled so far? So if anyone's listening wants to get out there and see you.
Yeah. I mean, it's such a crazy world because, you know, like, for example, like WonderCon is next month, really. And there's you know, we got an email that said you're confirmed to participate, but there's not really a lot of specifics yet. So I can't wait to do it. I hope it's good. But I mean, I can say the end of last year, I did C2E2, Emerald City in New York, and they were all fantastic. Like they were like, the security was great, but also the amount of money and the energy in the room like was really, really great. It was like a really great return. So I didn't notice any kind of dip in sales at all. And there was less people on the floor. So it was kind of like the hardcore buyers are the ones that came. So yeah, this year I'm planning to do those same shows. There's a Transformers convention in LA next month that I'm going to be doing. And then, yeah, like we'll see. I mean, the schedule's still kind of being worked out on some of this stuff too, because certain shows, you know, like Emerald City and C2E2 were always March, and now they were December of last year. So I've heard that they're both going to be August of this year and then reset to March in 2023. So it'd be interesting.
So if you had your pick, I always like to know this question. If you could write, let's just do art, I guess. If you could do art for any character, any publisher, what's like your dream one to work on?
Probably
dream
more
title.
Star Wars. I would say Star Wars. Yeah. Cause I'm a huge Star Wars fan. And like, I think now with The Mandalorian and everything, that world's been opened up in such a cool way that, you know, it's fun to do a story that wouldn't be about the main cast, you know, like, so
you're
you're
preaching to the choir right here.
Yeah.
That's what we always talk about.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a no brainer. Yeah. Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah.
I've seen, and it's funny, and I can't believe this, and because I have like all the Dark Horse stuff, I pretty much own like all the series, like complete set. I didn't realize you did covers for Star Wars Legacy.
I did. You know, I only did a couple because it was kind of bittersweet because I was like really thrilled to get to do it, but it was after Disney had bought Lucasfilm, so you knew the license was going to leave to go to Marvel. So I was still thrilled to get the opportunity, but yeah, it was kind of like, but I would love to do more in the future.
I want to see that.
Yeah.
So when you're not currently writing the Kill Lock right now, like what does Livio Ramondelli do? Like what do you do for fun?
I mean, for fun, then unrelated to work?
Unrelated to work. If you're not doing Kill Lock related stuff.
I mean, I love going to movies and hitting bars with my friends. Like that's pretty much. During quarantine, this place I moved into it's kind of an unusual layout, but our ceilings here are like, we got a projector that we can project movies like 25 feet wide in our living room. So it's like, that's been such a nice thing to have during like, you know, like we're going out and about now. The world's kind of more reopened, but that's been such a nice, pleasant thing to have something like that at home. Cause you know, I love going to the movie theater and didn't get to do it much for the last like 2 years. So
are you a Rams fan? Are you rooting for the Rams this weekend?
You know what? I'm not a huge football guy. I'm from the East Coast. So like my brother's diehard Steelers. So like I'll enjoy watching the Steelers game with him. But yeah, we'll see this weekend. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, I don't really have any particular love for the Rams, but I'll be watching for sure and drinking. Yeah.
We'll see how it goes. Old Big Dick Burrow might be coming out there and getting his first Super Bowl for Cincinnati Bengals. So that's kind of what I'm rooting for.
Well, the funny thing too in LA is that I'm following the Super Bowl situation because they keep they keep saying they're going to enforce the mask mandate during the game. And I'm
No
like,
way.
it's impossible. Like, it's going to be a disaster. Like,
Yeah.
they've even said, like, one of their health officials came out and was like, now, you have to take a sip of your beer and then the mask goes back on. I'm like, yeah, except when they tell the entire crowd to start cheering and then people are going to.
Right.
It's so, yeah.
I
So
believe it when I see it. There's no way.
There's no way. Yeah. So yeah.
Zach and I are waiting to next week to talk about this to give everyone at least more time to talk about Book of Boba Fett. And since we know you're a Star Wars fan,
yeah.
What was your review of Book of Boba Fett? Because we're going to talk about it next week, but I'd love to hear like from your point of view, like the whole series.
Are we spoilers? Okay.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I think
like,
we're past that. Yeah,
I'm sure by now people have, by the time this drops on Friday morning, or if people are listening Saturday, Sunday, they've obviously watched it. And if they don't know, the internet and social media has ruined it for them. So
Sure.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, there was something I enjoyed in every episode. Like I saw like all the online criticism and stuff. And to me, I just was still blown away that we're even getting this series, like a live action Boba Fett is still, there was enough in there that I loved in every episode. I loved kind of the world building of like the huts and a little bit more of like what a Rancor is. I thought Cad Bane looked fantastic when he showed up. Like I thought he looked so well done and so scary that I was like, I watched the Clone Wars cartoon. Like I thought he was fine, but live action Cad Bane I thought was really great.
Yeah, they nailed it.
Yeah, and I mean, I was a little let down by the finale. I have to say, I just kind of felt like, especially with you kind of want the end credits to really carry you into the next thing, and I thought that was a pretty weak end credit sequence because like. I mean, we just saw that dude get shot. It's not like you're bringing back someone from like Mando season 1 or something. But then I thought, I mean, the episode with Luke and Grogu training was just wonderful. That was like a warm hug for like 30 minutes just seeing that stuff.
It felt like an apology for The Last Jedi. Also,
yeah, it really did. Yeah. I mean, it sort of gave you everything you kind of wanted, like the warmth of like seeing Luke train and teach, and
Yeah, in his prime. That's the Luke that we never got to see.
Yeah.
From the time that we saw him in Return of the Jedi, and then the next time we see him is, we'll call
washed
it The Last
out.
Jedi.
Yeah.
It's like old man Luke.
Old man Luke.
Yeah. And then there was nerd stuff I couldn't believe, like Slave One fighting the Sarlacc pit. I was like, I can't believe we're seeing this. Like What did you guys think about it? Or are you saving it for next week?
I mean, we're kind of saving it for next week.
Okay.
But we don't mind.
Generally, did you like it generally, or are you like?
I'm a huge Star Wars fan, so it's definitely a blessing to get more Star Wars content. And you figure this is Disney Plus's second show.
Yeah.
In this, you figure it was the 2 seasons of Mando, and then this, like, it's just awesome to see all these characters. And I'm a huge Ahsoka Tano fan, so like when she appeared in Mando, and then surprisingly she shows up in this, and the Cad Bane, like you said, like he's perfect. The only thing missing was like the toothpick. Like that's the one thing that I missed from like seeing him in like Bad Batch and the Clone Wars show, is him just having that little toothpick in his mouth. But yeah, it's awesome, and I'm excited for like Kenobi's coming out in May, so I'm sure we're gonna get a trailer this Sunday with a ton of other trailers. So
I enjoyed it overall. I really did. I understand everyone's like complaints. The big complaint, obviously, that it was the Book of Boba Fett with cameos from Boba Fett. But to be honest, I mean, those episodes that were like, what was it? It was 5 and 6 were so awesome that I couldn't. It was hard to be too upset about it, and like, I've just never been. Jess and I talked about this. We usually do on these shows like halfway point, so like 3 or 4 episodes. On this one, I think we did the first 3 episodes and we gave kind of our general starting opinion, and then we wait for the end. And I still stand by what I said with the first 3, which is I've never been a massive like Boba Fett fanboy, which they're out there, like people. I mean, let's be honest, the love for that character resides on all of less than probably 10 minutes of film time and no verbiage at all, no lines. So I never was like, he's a cool character, but I've never been like the guy who's obsessed with Boba. So it was cool. I like everything else. Like I love the Black Crescent and stuff. The Cad Bane looked like somehow, like you said, somehow they took the animation and made it real life, which is just nuts. It was awesome. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, that show too is like, like the volume they're using behind them, that big screen. Like
Yeah.
there are shots in that show that you just cannot tell where the volume begins. It is beautiful. Like it's incredible that we're getting the show. And I'm like, if that's what it looks like today, I can't even imagine years from now. Like, I mean, it really is like what George Lucas dreamed of with green screen, right? Where it's like you cannot tell what you're looking at is not real. I mean,
well, there's a lot of times in the most you can not say like with the green screen or the big volume thing, but like like a lot of it is on Mos Eisley, but like when they did the Mando episode when he has to drop off that woman, the first time you see like Bo-Katan when they go to that like water planet, like that was just like, where did they get all this? Like, are they building all this around them? Like, are they in by an ocean? Like, that's what blew me away with that show.
It is amazing. I mean, I was watching Raised by Wolves, the new Ridley movie or Ridley show on HBO, and I like that show a lot too. But there's shots in it that I'm like, this feels like a green screen. There's just something even with the technology today. I'm like, the volume just I don't know. Maybe it's because the volume is like a lit TV. It's like so bright, and then I think I love the fact that the lights reflect on like Mando's armor, so it makes him just look part of the world even more. It's really cool.
Yeah, they do a good job with the all the reflections. Like a lot of people have shown, like they'll freeze it and you'll see it, what it looks like in front of him, and it's just like that's incredible that they actually do that much detail to that just so it looks real.
Yeah, absolutely.
The episode with Luke, I was like so blown away by it. And I was like, oh man, this is so cool. But I'll be honest, the whole time I kept thinking like, God, how expensive was this episode? You know what I mean? Like that's all I could think about. And then in my head, I'm like, oh no, how much money did they spend on Luke? Am I not going to be able to get to see other cool stuff? Like, what did Luke just cost me moving forward?
I know. I had that thought too, because I was thinking with the finale, like even the Rancor and stuff, I enjoyed that, but I thought there was going to be some huge new, like there's talk of Han Solo showing up. I thought there was going to be some giant thing at the end, and I didn't really get that. Yeah.
Well, Luke ruined it for everyone, man.
That's true.
You wanted him so bad, and you couldn't get anything else.
I saw people complaining, as always, online that he doesn't look realistic enough, and I'm like, are you people insane? I mean, like, even the leap from just what he looked like in the last Mandalorian season until now is incredible. Like. Yeah.
Have you seen the side by side? I guess maybe you call it like fan art of Sebastian Stan as a young Luke.
Yeah.
It's like cast him. I mean, if you want to save some money, cast him and then cut out his audio and have Mark Hamill do the voice or something. I don't know, but it looks spot on. Like it really looks. He looked legit. So
yeah. Part of me is sad for Mark Hamill because, like, I mean, it's great. I'm sure he loves it, but part of him is like, why didn't we get a series like this? In the 90s, like he could have just played Luke in every episode, like, but we'll see.
I wonder if he just prefers this. I mean, if you look at his career and you honestly look at his career, like the bulk of it is just voice acting, I mean, besides Star Wars, it's really the only acting he ever did. And like, I guess when he played Trickster in The Flash, which was horrendous, but he probably is like, no, you know what? I prefer to just do the voice acting stuff and I don't have to show up for lines all the time.
Probably. I mean, and he's a great voihaver actor too.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
You know what awful but great movie that I love that he's in? MacGyver.
Oh man, I haven't watched that in years. Yeah.
He's like a cop in the movie, and he's got this horrible mustache. But I love it, like, because it's based off the anime, like such a great movie, like cheesy B movie. But
man, we were shafted on superhero stuff for so long. I was remember back on remember Mantis? Remember that Fox TV show like Mantis?
Yes.
Like, you'd watch it just because it had a guy in a superhero costume. Like you're like, we'll watch anything just to get anything. Like
I'll do you one better. Remember was it The Cape? Do you remember that stupid ass show where it was like a guy and I gotta look it up. Hold on. I think it was called The Cape, and it was on like NBC or something. It was horrendous.
I would have watched probably. Yeah. Like I used to get excited with the Macy's parade if you saw like a Marvel float that had like a guy dressed as the Hulk. I mean, just kids today. God.
Yep. The Cape. 2011 came out, and on NBC it was canceled because it was so horrible.
Oh my God.
He had like a cape that I don't know. I'm not even talking about it. It's embarrassing. But yes, you're right.
Sad. We're gonna have to look that up.
Yeah.
Man. Interesting.
So, typically on the podcast here, we're always talk about articles. So let's kind of move on to one of the articles, and I think this is a great article with having Livio on here. So this is actually a couple weeks old. It's over at thehollywoodreporter.com. So IDW to lose the G.I. Joe Transformers license at the end of 22 exclusive. So G.I. Joe and Transformers is going to be leaving IDW after quite a long time, 14 years. And it looks like it's going to be heading over to Skybound, good old Robert Kirkman's imprint over at Image. So, Livio, you being, a longtime artist over at IDW with Transformers, what do you think about this? And, what's the shakeup and how do you feel?
Yeah, I mean, it's bittersweet. I mean, I think like it was going to happen inevitably. I mean, that's just what happens with licenses, and IDW had 14 years is a hell of a long run for a licensed comic. I mean, that's even right now till the end of this year, they have 11 months of Transformers stuff to print. That's more than most runs. The 11 continuous months of an unbroken Batman story or whatever. Like, it's an amazing accomplishment that IDW's had. I think they did a really great job with it. Like, I feel bad for the fans because I think the real nice thing IDW did was they allowed the continuity to continue on for, all this time. So in 14 years, there was only 2 different versions of the continuity. That's pretty incredible. So you could really follow your favorite characters for quite a while on that. In terms of the fans and stuff, in terms of like us that work on the books, we'll see what happens. I mean, like speaking for myself, I'm kind of focused on creator-owned stuff. I want to do more of that. But I mean, if the Transformers license follows the pattern it has in the past, people that worked on it before tend to work on it at the next company, in some form or another, because, we still work with Hasbro. Hasbro's obviously still involved with it. And then I think anytime any license goes to a new, company, they do need reliable people with experience on the brand, So I mean, we will see what happens. I can't speak for any of the other creators. Like we'll just have to see.
Can you enlighten us a little bit? Like, was there a reason they lost the license? Like, did they? I mean, obviously, you think about, is it money? Did it cost more, and they just weren't willing to go up to renew the license, or like? Because when I think about IDW, I mean, I think Justin and I talked about this. I think of IDW, it's Ninja Turtles, G.I. Joe, Transformers, and so if they're losing 2 of those 3, I'm starting to wonder what else are they putting out then?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I know that IDW has wanted to kind of become more of a creator-owned house, which that's good for a lot of people. I mean, one, it's just, the book's getting out there, but also everyone in the world wants their book to be adapted, and that benefits the company. It makes all the sense in the world to devote your time to new ideas. I didn't hear anything specifically. Like my involvement with Hasbro was always that they were very happy with IDW. Like they really enjoyed the relationship. And I think they were happy at how much depth of character IDW got from those characters. I mean, like the IDW Transformers is different than G1. They really brought some new depth to it and more than meets the eye and all the kind of, new characters, Windblade, all this stuff was brought in. We'll see. I mean, it might have just been one of those cases of like, and that happens all the time. Like, let's shake things up. It's why there's always like a new #1 of a title where no matter what, if you do a new #1, it always drives sales up. Even if sales go back down to where they were, it's like that trick just works every time. So it might, I shouldn't say trick, but that.
Oh, it's a trick. No. We quoted it literally like 2 weeks ago. It's the Joe Quesada trick to sell more books.
Yeah. I mean, it's so funny because it's such a natural, like if I heard that there was even a character I don't care about, but if I heard there was a new #1, it's a good jumping off point. And I hear people that I know like it. You're just immediately like, yeah, I'll try it. Like,
I'll try this character out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, look, the loss of Transformers, I'm just saying this right now. The loss of Transformers at IDW opens up for a Kill Lock ongoing. I'm just saying there's not going to be some other robots. We're losing the Transformer robots. Maybe we get ongoing Kill Lock robots to fill the void.
I mean, I would love to keep it going. Like whether it's an ongoing or rather, more of these, these
arcs,
these big arcs. Yeah.
Well, kind of like what Kanto does. Kanto has a great strategy how they do like the 6 issue arcs, and then they move on, and then like yours is, like Kill Lock Artisan Wraith, and then boom, the next arc comes out, and it's different, like you said, kind of like a trilogy thing. I mean,
I think it keeps it keeps the excitement, because I like the even if it was frustrating when you wait for like a trilogy of movies, you have that time in between each movie, but I think that excitement and that kind of people, readers wondering what's going to happen. That helps the brand. You know, when
Right.
something comes out every month, it's also great. But I think, you know, one thing that was nice about Kill Lock was getting a lot of people asking me, like, are we going to get more of the universe? So you could gauge that there was an audience out there waiting for more of it. And so to finally be able to deliver that, yeah, like a sequel is coming, and it's, you know, I've been working on it for the last year, didn't tell anybody, like that was really cool.
Yeah, I was really excited to see when you when it was announced by you and IDW, and then obviously it's in the solicitations, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh my god, I can't wait for this. And
Yeah.
you've had such a, you know, like such a following over how many years you've been an artist, and then when you had, so all those people, I feel like when you have a following, they were going to follow you to Kill Lock. They were definitely going to check out this. They love your art. I love your art. So I was you know, and it's, I think that's always the toughest thing is when you're an artist and then you try to you dabble in that writing side. It's like a hit or miss. And I think you nailed it. Like you completely nailed it for your first one.
Yeah,
And
thank
I'm
you.
excited for the second one without a doubt. So I think this will be a perfect thing, because, and like Zach said, if you could get an ongoing, or exactly like Kanto does, because with IDW, you're losing Transformers, you're losing G.I. Joe. They just ended the Star Wars stuff. That's going back to Dark
That's
Horse.
true.
Kid
Damn,
stuff.
forgot about that too.
Yeah.
So yeah, like what do they have? They have all these like 80s and 90s nostalgic stuff that still comes out. You got the Transformers and you have Kanto. Kill Lock is number 3, right? You know, figure, I mean, 2023. It's,
you just rose the ranks right there.
It would be wonderful. Yeah, I mean, I would love to keep doing more content. I think it's a testament to them too that they greenlit a sequel. You know, that was nice that they had confidence in it to continue. So yeah, I mean, I would love to keep that brand going, or, you know, it's such a blast to make it. It really has been one of the best things I've ever had happen to me. You know, because I'm sure, like, I don't know you guys too, if you do any kind of creative writing or anything, but like I was doing that my whole life as a kid, and like I was always wanting to do it and to kind of put it out there and have it received well, is like, you're like, man, that's what you hope to get to do, you know?
So do you have all 6 issues slabbed at a 9.8?
You know what?
What did you do special for your book? Yeah, what?
You know what?
You don't? Oh my god!
You know what? I will say, my brother, it's framed over here, but my brother for my birthday got me. I had emailed him the original Kill Lock pitch just to get his thoughts. My brother's he works in marketing for Warner Brothers. He's a really smart guy, and like, so he framed for my birthday the original pitch I sent him, the original rough color mock-up, and then the printed issue 1 all framed together. So cool. That was really special, because I was like, you know, because I pitched that to him like 5 years before it came out. So yeah, I should slab. I have quite a few issues of the series that I should slab.
Now you're gonna have to go out and like spend more money than you should have to as the creator to get your book slabbed.
I thought of that. I'm like, because especially some issues, because of COVID, they sold out and they're kind of rare. So it's like that is funny, that notion of like you having to buy your own stuff.
Right. I think issue 4, honestly, I was kind of searching around. Issue 4 seems to be out of the first 6 is kind of like the hardest one to get. Surprisingly, there's a ton of copies in like the UK and Canada.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like, it was cool to see like the breakdowns too of like on like royalty stuff, where it's like how many were digital downloads too, because I thought for sure during COVID digital would be like through the roof, and it was still print. I mean, people still wanted, you know, print stuff delivered. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
You need to get those slabbed. You got to have all 6 displayed.
I know. I really
signature series. You have to have
signature
the blue
series.
labels,
Sign them yourself.
And then you have to have the yellow labels.
Yeah.
Hey, do you have to like verify yourself to get your own signature series?
That's a really good question. Yeah. Does there need to be a witness?
Right?
Yeah.
I think so. I know, like, artists, like, you could just like, if you could sign up through CGC to have like an artist account, so you should be able to just do that and then sign like a ton of copies, send it off to CGC. And if you're local in California, bring a few to a convention. I'm sure someone would buy it. So the work's already done. Like, you don't have to go through CGC. Buy it right off of you.
That's true. Man, I was just talking to a buddy about CGC. I guess like if you send in a book now, you're looking at like a year wait time to get it back.
Talk to this guy. This guy's the one who sends like every couple months.
Every week I send in like 20 books, because I figure by like 5-6 months down the road, they'll be trickling in. I think it's at like 150 business days right now.
You got lucky. Books. You had a period of time where you had like a 30-day turnaround, right? Recently?
I was like two invoices got lucky where like they were trying something new. Like they say they randomly picked people's invoices, and I got them back literally in like a week. Like they were received on like a Monday and it shipped out on like a Wednesday or Thursday. So, but it's crazy. Like,
and Zach, is that an X-Men #1 you have slab behind you?
It is, sir. I sold like my whole collection my whole collection besides like the 12 boxes I still have. I had like all the X-Men books primarily from like, I don't know, let's say earlies on to current and a bunch of other stuff. And I said, screw it. I'm selling all this. I need an X-Men one. And I got lucky, man. I bought this at, let's say 2018, maybe 2019, something like that. And I think I bought it for 6.0 for 9,000. And now it's like a $25,000 to $30,000 book. Like,
damn, well done.
Right before it got unattainable. So that's
done.
my thing is X-Men. I'm a massive X-Men guy.
Nice. That's a great piece, man. That's great.
Yeah.
I
want to bury that with me and then hide my tomb wherever that's at.
I just bought behind me last year, Amazing Spider-Man 300.
I see it. Yeah.
That was because that Venom was always like one of my favorite characters. So I was like, yeah. But
yeah. So that was, if you bought it last year, that was probably, did you beat the price hike for that?
I bought it for, I think mine was $1,500. So that's
pretty good.
What is it now?
Well, 9/8 were going for what, like 5K, Justin? Something like that?
Yeah, they were high. They were definitely hitting that 4 or 5K at a point. With like all the prices.
They were pushing like Hulk 181 numbers for a while, it felt like.
Wow. Yeah, it was amazing because I had the entire McFarlane and Larson Spider-Man run. I loved that entire run. And I had actually moved and I got my 300 stolen by movers, which is crazy. Like specifically that one issue they found. So, which is really, so I bought
good taste, I guess.
Yeah. But I got this one to emotionally repair the damage. But yeah, when I went to the con was the Torpedo Con in LA. So everything was slabbed everywhere. I couldn't believe the prices on the McFarlane stuff. Like, it makes me want to slab the entire run. And like,
you should slab them and then turn them over and buy your key books. I mean, that's kind of, I think what Justin and I do these days is really just slab up to buy up keys. I'd love to have 5-6 books and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. Like the Holy Grail.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, Justin, do you have like a slab book that's like your top?
My most expensive or just like my
most expensive.
Most expensive is probably I have a first Scarecrow from the Golden Age, so World's Finest 3.
Nice.
7.0. And I bought that years and years ago. Like
nice.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. And like I've really gotten back into like the Star Wars collecting over the past couple of years. So like I've gotten all like the first appearances of like I just got the XM Studios. It's literally in front of me up here. The XM Studios Darth Revan statue. So like I have like his first appearance and Thrawn's and all those guys in like 9/8 because they're all coming at some point, I feel. And like
Justin was scooping up the Dark Horse books probably like half a year before everyone else.
Oh, yeah.
And this asshole is just like, oh, check out my 90 copies of Dr. Aphra and my 14 copies of Ahsoka Tano. And it's like, dude, deactivate your account. Like, I'm sick of looking at this shit.
That's amazing. Yeah, I thought for sure we'd get a Thrawn cameo at the end of Boba Fett.
Like a name drop again.
Well, I thought you might actually see him because if Ahsoka is going after him, because she said and she is, and her series is kind of the next, because Obi-Wan's like, the continuity is before.
Right.
So Ahsoka is the next one in this current continuity. I'm like, yeah, I thought for sure they would do something like that, but no.
And they cast him too. So
did they?
Yeah.
I heard rumblings. Was it officially cast?
I don't think it's
Lars
official.
Mikkelsen.
Well, he was the voice actor for Rebels.
Oh, sorry. Maybe I'm looking at the wrong thing. I could have swore. Hold on. Reportedly cast. Yeah, it says reportedly Lars Mikkelsen.
Dude, I love like with Bo-Katan when you can cast the voice actor to be the actual live actor. It's so awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. She was a complete like cameo surprise. Like I didn't know anything. Like we all knew. Like they said that Ahsoka was coming. Like Rosario Dawson is cast as Ahsoka.
Right.
And nobody really cared. And then all of a sudden she shows up, and her first appearance blew up. But like Bo-Katan, I did not see that coming in that episode at all.
Yeah.
And like the whole Mandalorian, like the Kryze clan and that. So
I thought the Cad Bane was like out of left field. Like you're just like, whoa, that was awesome.
Yeah. It's like so cool to see these characters delivered so well, because it's like I think that just benefits for having the Clone Wars people who worked on the series work on the live action where they're like, you just know how to make what people want to see. It's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Dave Filoni is the GOAT right now. So
I was just talking about Buddy today about like that last episode he directed, and you're like, man, like that dude's transition from animation to live action is like seamless. Like he directed some of the best episodes, and the other directors are like more familiar with live action. Man, he's just killing it.
Well, and the other one who's surprising too is Bryce Dallas Howard. Like her
Yeah.
directing the episodes she's touched with, like she did a couple Mandalorians, right? And they were all like, I felt like key episodes.
I agree. Yeah, her
Yeah.
stuff's great. Yeah. I
It's
wonder
been
what that
so
too.
good.
If that's all the directors who have like, or all the directors that have a parent. I wonder if like it could be unrelated, or maybe you just grow up with such an awesome like Sofia Coppola. You have like this amazing mentor every day. You know, like
Right.
Ridley Scott's kids, and like like I wonder about that. If like my dad was a director, would I like every day you're just you're learning, you know?
Yeah, you're seeing things and the way he talks to them, and
Yeah.
So,
Cool. Let's do it.
we always end our podcast with what are we currently reading. So before we get out of here, let's go around the horn. Basically, Livio, so what are we currently reading is either if you're reading something right now, whether it's current, whether it's something that you've been reading for a long time, or maybe you just recently decided to pick something back up from the 80s or 90s. Zach, do you want to go first for your?
Sure. Okay, so it's what we're currently reading, but we just started doing something fun as well, which now I kind of feel bad because we have, like a creator on here. And so maybe it's not, maybe we shouldn't do this, but screw it. We'll still do it. We also say hot garbage of the week. Like, so the book that just was a massive letdown. So, my hot garbage book of the week, I believe was, and I think I've said this before, dude. I'm not a fan of this. So Justin, you probably think I'm going to say Justice League Annual, and surprisingly, it wasn't Justice League Annual. I actually kind of enjoyed it, despite it being Brian Michael Bendis and the current Justice League. But Titans United 6, this Titans United little mini series 1 through 7, it doesn't read well. The characters, I don't feel like they're characters. They feel more, and I get it. I understand. It feels more like the HBO Max characters than it does the actual like printed comic characters, but it's just jarring to me, and I just have not enjoyed it at all. And I'm a really big Titans fan, so that's my garbage pick of the week. And then the book I really liked the most this week, I've really enjoyed these little mini series by Peter David, the Maestro mini series.
Yeah.
And they just started the new one, Maestro World War M. I love Peter David. I mean, the guy's gold. His X Factor run is one of my favorite, like X-Men affiliated runs of all time. I mean, he crushed the Hulk back in the day. And these Maestro little 6-issue, I think it's 5 or 6 issues they've been doing, have really been a lot of fun. And issue 1 was really, really good. If you haven't read them, I think this is the 3rd little mini series. And if you guys haven't read it at all, I highly suggest going back, picking up the first 2 minis, and then getting on the bandwagon here for Maestro World War M #1.
Okay. Livio, what are you currently reading?
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned the Maestro. I just reread Future Imperfect, where I love. That's one of my favorite comics. I discovered that as like a teenager, and I was like, man, in terms of like twisted superhero post-apocalyptic, that's such an awesome story. And with George Perez going through what he's going through, I was rereading that, and like, yeah, love that story.
And Peter David just had actually, I mean, how long? I was always afraid I'm always going to call him Larry David, but Peter David, didn't he recently have some health issues too? Like not too long ago where.
Oh, I don't know.
Oh,
I mean, they're all getting.
He battled through it. Yeah. They're all getting sad.
Yeah. It sucks when you start seeing entire generations starting to get up there,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So that's Future Imperfect.
That was the last comic I read. Then I'm reading, I don't know if you guys, it's not a comic, but I'm reading a book called Shooting Zodiac, and it's about filming the Fincher movie. So it's like, I'm a big David Fincher fan. So it's like, if you guys like that movie, it's written by Robert Graysmith, who Jake Gyllenhaal played in the movie. So it's like, it just basically goes into how much of a pain in the ass it is to like get a movie off the ground. It's the entire book is like, they're working on it for like a year and they don't even know if the movie's going to happen. It's just, but I'm enjoying that for sure.
Cool.
All right. Interesting.
Justin?
Yeah. But Zach's a nice novel reader as well. We're always talking about, what was the latest thing? I just finished the High Republic Rising Storm, and I'm on to the next one. Zach just finished the whole Wheel of Time series. So we're definitely into some of the novels out there. So for me, I don't have a hot garbage of this week, surprisingly. A couple honorable mentions, the latest issues of Joker, which is really good, by James Tynion, of course. That closes out in about 2 issues. I really like the backup story with Punchline. So they're really pushing her a little bit more, and I think something will come out with that. The Batgirl series is on issue 3, which was really good as well. I'm totally liking the Becky Cloonan stuff with Spoiler and Cassandra as the Batgirls. But my pick of the week, and it's so funny. They always do these parodies that come out from Keen Spot Comics. I don't know if you guys have ever seen any of these. They've done like Stranger Things. They've done like Walking Dead spinoffs and parodies. So this week it's called The Mangolorian, and it's basically like Mando, and instead of being a bounty hunter, he's a delivery guy, and they try to keep all the different characters from The Mandalorian. So what's his name? Carl Weathers, who plays Grief. What's his name? Mars Grief.
Mhm.
Instead of that, instead of the Mandalorian going to visit him, he's going to visit Apollo Creed. So they
Okay.
actually play like their characters, like who they really are. And then that little Ugnaught who's in season 1, it's literally like his name's Nick Nolte. It's just like a little version of him. But the storyline pretty much is like he's a delivery guy, and he has to deliver this package to one of two places, either to Jeff Bezos or Disney for the streaming for this like streaming wars, it's basically called. It's a one shot. It's funny. Of course, inside the boxes, a kind of a parody on Grogu, but I liked it. It's definitely a nice little one shot, and I sent it to one of my friends. I was like, if you can find this at your local comic shop, pick it up. If not, just go online and buy it if you're a Star Wars fan or Mando fan, because there's a lot of like little Easter eggs in there as well. Like you see a lot of like Warner Brother characters, and if you watch even like Spaceballs, like there's some characters in there from Spaceballs. I'm a huge Mel Brooks fan, so I thoroughly enjoyed it.
That's great.
So that's my pick of the week for what am I currently reading.
Nice. That's cool.
So that's it for episode 6, season 2. Again, I really want to thank Livio for coming on here.
Yeah, man. Thank you. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was great, guys. Thank you.
Artisan's Wraith. Again, final order cutoff is this Monday, the 14th. It'll be out. The first issue is coming out on March 9th. If you can go out and try to pick up the first series, whether you pick it up in the first 6 issues digitally in normal reading or pick up the trade. Livio, before we get out of here, tell everybody where they could find you again and anything else in closing words.
Yeah, just Instagram and Twitter is just my full name. Instagram's where I'm most active. I'm always posting like Transformers art and Artisan Wraith, Kill Lock stuff. And then if anyone wants a commission, you can DM me there or email me. My website has my email. So yeah, thank you. And it was great talking to you guys.
For sure.
Awesome. Zach?
So, well, I got one more question. If you, and probably should have asked this earlier, but I think I was thinking about it and I forgot. So if you get an adaptation for Kill Lock, what's your dream adaptation and what platform would you want to see it on?
Oh man, that's a great question.
No, I should have asked it earlier. God, I'm an idiot.
You know what? I think it would be a series. I think that it's probably too much to put into like a 2-hour movie. I could be wrong. But yeah, I think probably would have to be animated. I mean, a live action version would be great, but live action would basically be you shooting. I mean, honestly, with the volume these days, who knows? But like, all the characters are robots. So I think there's no people in it. So I think you would just be dealing with CGI, either live action or, animation directly. But yeah, I mean, I think that, certainly a streaming service like HBO Max or something. I would love to see that happen.
Oh yeah, because you got to keep it adult, right? So that'd be like probably the best. Yeah. Or Amazon Prime, man. I mean, look at The Boys, yeah, The Boys and Invincible.
I was annoyed a little bit on the timing because like Netflix had that Love, Death, Robot series that happened.
I was just going to say that.
I was like, man, that's like, and like Fincher worked on that too. So I was like, man, he would be like my dream if I could get anybody. But yeah.
Cool. Oh man, we should have talked about that. I could talk about those episodes like all night.
Yeah.
That was such a great series. I was so happy when they came back with that season 2.
I still have to see. I only watched a little bit of it because it was so close to what I was working on. I'm like, I don't want to be influenced by this thing at all. Like, but yeah.
All right, cool. So for myself, appreciate again, Livio. I've loved following you over the past 10 plus years. Really appreciate you coming on here. It's been a lot of fun. I'm super excited for the latest installment of the Kill Lock. That's it, everybody. We'll have a episode next week where we're going to be talking all about Star Wars for the Book of Boba Fett. We also have another guest coming on here to talk about it as well. Star Wars fanatic for Boba Fett fans. That's it, everybody. We'll catch you again next week. Peace out.
Later.